On today's Jedi Guybrarian Holocron show, we're going to look at 2 Star Wars non-fiction books and 2 Star Wars short story collections, and we'll take a special look at my library's own Comic-Con event with the 501st Legion, and then a quick look at several other new books in a variety of genres. The first non-fiction Star Wars book that I want to show you today is a short biography book called Who is George Lucas? It's researched and written by Pam Polak and Meg Bolviso. If you don't know George, let me tell you, he is one of my heroes. He is the creator of Star Wars, the guy responsible for starting this whole creative collection of movies and stories in a galaxy far, far away. This biography tells us about his childhood and his youth, about his near-fatal car accident, about his time as a film student in college, and his first movies that he made. It also tells us about his creation of Star Wars and his family that includes his 3 adopted children, and about his special effects company, ILM, that created new movie effects for so many films, including Jurassic Park. Readers also get to learn about different movie makers and special effects people that George Lucas worked with. For example, here's a part from page 70 in the book about when George Lucas started working with an incredible sound effects genius by the name of Ben Burtt. Sound is 50% of the motion picture experience, George Lucas said. Star Wars sound designer Ben Burtt used many different types of recordings to bring George's world to life. R2-D2's voice is a combination of electric beeps, water pipes, whistles, and Burt's own voice. Chewbacca's Wookiee sound is a mix of angry walruses, lions, and camels. The world-famous lightsaber sound effect was created in part by the hum of old movie projectors. Star Wars had created a demand for sophisticated Dolby sound in theaters. In 1987, Sprocket Systems changed its name to Skywalker Sound and invented the THX system, which improved the sound quality in movie theaters even more. So not only did he create the entire Star Wars universe, but George Lucas's companies and ideas and the people he worked with came up with amazing technological advances for movie making and for movie theaters. Did you notice the quotation marks around the words that George Lucas actually spoke? Whenever you see quotation marks around something in nonfiction, that means the author is quoting what a person said in real life. If you see quotes around something in fiction, it usually means that a character is talking in the story. And by the way, my family got to meet Ben Burtt, the sound effects genius, at a Star Wars celebration in Florida. And at that same celebration, I also got to be in the room in person when George Lucas was interviewed on stage by Jon Stewart and joined by Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill too. That was a day I'll never forget. The next non-fiction Star Wars book I want to show you is this book called Star Wars Coding Projects, created by John Woodcock and John Hall. This book is a great way to learn about how computer programming works and how to create real computer games, while also learning about Star Wars. This book can help you with computer programming vocabulary and definitions, such as on page 8, where it says, coding, or computer programming, is telling a computer what to do. For a computer to follow the steps of an algorithm, they must be written in a special programming language that the computer can understand. An algorithm is a set of instructions that are followed in order to perform a particular task. Computer programs are based on algorithms. The computer controlling the Death Star trash compactor probably had a very simple algorithm. After all, it only needed to squash garbage. It probably looked something like this. And this book can actually help you create and play your own Star Wars games. Like the one on page 68 that's called Secret Spy Mission.
How would you fare on a mission into enemy territory to gather secret intelligence? Now is your chance to join the ranks of brave, plucky droids like BB-8 and R2-D2 and go on a perilous assignment. Can you outwit the patrolling soldiers and gather vital information stored on data cards? Use the arrow keys to steer your droid around the enemy base to collect data cards. The patrolling soldiers might be faster than the droid, but the droid is far more cunning.
Okay, changing now to some Star Wars fiction, I have here a collection of short stories available for checkout called The Clone Wars, Stories of Light and Dark. If you are familiar with the Clone Wars TV series, you're really going to like this collection. And if you're not familiar with that show, you'll still really enjoy reading about this exciting time period between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, with adventures written by 11 different Star Wars authors. You can read the whole book, or you could just focus on the stories and characters that you like best. I happen to be a big fan of Ahsoka Tano, so I really like the story called Almost a Jedi, which is written in the first-person narration from the perspective of a youngling student training to be a Jedi. Here's how they describe a battle featuring Ahsoka and the pirate Hondo. By the way, the pirate Hondo is also a part of Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, because you'll see him and hear him if you fly the Millennium Falcon. Row after row of battle droids were marching toward us. Each held a weapon at its waist and was firing. Super battle droids were advancing as well, their arms raised to fire their wrist-mounted laser cannons. Red streaks of light flashed by as they kept firing. In the lead, Ahsoka spun through the air, lightsabers out. She sliced through several droids before her feet touched the ground, leaving behind the wreckage of sparking metal. We ran after her, swinging our lightsabers to deflect blasts and cut down droids. The pirates used blasters, except Hondo, who swung a steel sword as if it were a lightsaber. I didn't hesitate. I didn't think. I felt the force flow through me and I let it. Launching myself into the air, I leapt onto the shoulders of a battle droid and sliced through its circuitry. Did you notice all the action verbs used to make that battle scene so exciting? Words like marching, firing, advancing, launching, fire, flashed, spun, sliced, ran, swung, deflect, and leapt. That's the kind of writing that really makes a scene come to life. Okay, the last Star Wars book I'm mentioning today is a graphic novel that collects short stories about some of the female characters in Star Wars. It's called Star Wars Forces of Destiny, which is based on a series of cartoon adventures created by Disney about Leia, Rey, Hera, Ahsoka and Padme, and Rose and Paige. Here's a scene from the story about sisters Rose and Paige that takes place between the movies Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Recently, Jedi Library had its very own Comic-Con event. We call it ReadCon, and we were visited by several members of the official Star Wars 501st Legion, an international organization of professional Star Wars costumers who, with the permission of Lucasfilm and Disney, travel to many events. They march in parades, they raise money for charity, and they have even appeared in Star Wars filming productions. Here's some video clips of our event. With the help of the Star Wars 501st Legion and students and families buying books at our ReadCon, we raised money for new books for our library and for Dornbecker's Children's Hospital. Before we end today's Holocron, I want to show you just some of the many new books available for checkout because of the funding that was raised. Well, that's just some of the new books available for you to read. More are on the way. Thanks for joining me today on the Jedi Guybrarian Holocron Show. May the Force and reading be with you. Oh, and in the month of May, may the 4th be with you too. Read about Star Wars that day.